Hello, we are gonna go ahead and get started just to be mindful and respectful of everyone's time. We have a lot to talk about today. And first of all, I just want to thank everyone for being here, joining the session. I want to welcome everyone, our panelists and our attendees to the first Mano panel session. My name is Erica Estrada, and I am Mano's founder and director. I am a four-year PhD student in the Department of Food Science and Technology here at UC Davis. And just a few years ago, like you, I was a community college student. As I advanced in academia, I realized that there were fewer students that looked like me and had similar backgrounds as I did or as I do. And that's what inspired me to create the Mano program. I'm going to give you a really brief overview of what the Mano program is, as well as some of the resources that we have, so that if you are interested in seeing off some of those resources, I'll tell you where to find them and what they are all about. So Mano is a mentoring, advising, and networking opportunities. It's an initiative that works to increase the representation of diverse students in graduate school by providing support and resources to undergraduate students, especially to those from underrepresented communities. At Mano, we believe that every single one of you deserves the opportunity to broaden your horizons and discover the endless possibilities that graduate school offers. We have, in Mano, we are working to put together a couple of resources, including the panel sessions. So this is the first panel that we are going to have. And the panel sessions aim to provide community college students with a comprehensive overview of grad school experiences. And we can discuss from application processes to all the way careers that we can potentially have after grad school. The conversation of this particular panel, it will depend on you and your questions. I do have some prepared questions here, but I want this to help you. So if you have any questions regarding grad school, this is the time to, or later in a couple minutes, that will be the time to ask. There are two upcoming panels, grad school, money and opportunities, where we will discuss beyond research, what grad students do and the different opportunities available for them. And then the third one is titled This Can Be You, which will be mostly hearing inspirational stories about of current grad students and their journey in grad school. If you haven't registered for those, you still have time to register. So you can use that QR code or email us, and I will be sending you that link. We are very excited to put together a mentor directory, which it's composed of biographies of current and former grad students who are committed to promoting diversity in graduate education and are there to help you and serve as mentors, guides, and resources for community college students. So this is going to be coming up soon, probably at the end of this month. So I encourage you to look at this resource. The last resource that Mano is putting together is a podcast in which we'll talk about we'll have a conversation with current grad students about their journeys and their research and whatever they're doing in their daily life as grad students. And that is also going to be coming up very soon. So our resources, including this panel, will be available in our website, which will be launched next month. And I will be sending you guys, everyone who registered to the panels, the link in the next couple weeks. And you can contact us and suggest any discussion topic for future panels or for the podcast. If you're interested in a specific topic, for example, how do you get into grad school, or the life of a grad student here at UC Davis, or any other topic, please contact us and we'll make it happen. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and let the panelists introduce themselves. We have 5 amazing panelists here that will talk to us about their journey So let's take a few minutes. Do you want to start, Sirenio?
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you, Erica, and thank you for everyone that came and for the opportunity to be here. My name is Sirenio Sasaga. I am a second-year PhD student at UC Davis in the Animal Biology graduate group. My research, which I'll probably talk about more as we go throughout the session, focuses on chickens and a muscular disease that affects them. I am a first generation student. My parents actually didn't have any type of formal education. And so pretty much all the way to where I'm at now, it's been trying to find resources. And so I think being part of this program and taking advantage of this and learning from each one of us, I think will provide you some of those resources or answer those questions you might have. And I did my undergraduate studies at California State University, Fresno, Fresno State. And then, yeah, like I said, I'm now at UC Davis.
Thank you so much. Jordan, maybe do you want to be next?
Good afternoon. My name is Jordan. I'm a second year PhD student in microbiology graduate program at Davis. I look at wastewater and viruses as surveillance mechanisms. So I collect wastewater is accumulation of water, urine, and feces. And so like during the COVID pandemic, infected patients would secrete the virus into through their feces. I'm going to collect that. And I use that as a surveillance mechanism to understand what trends are increasing or decreasing within the population. I did my undergrad at St. Mary's College in the Bay Area. Also did my master's at USF, and now I'm here at Davis.
Awesome. Gabriel, do you want to be next?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Gabriel Hernandez. I am a second year master's student in the electrical engineering department here at UC Davis. My research is pretty cool. We make little nanoscale devices that are tailored to absorb or reflect as much light as possible. So with that, you can create like real life invisibility cloaks. So really cool stuff. We also work with like little small tweezers like nanoscale. So you can like move particles and molecules around for like medical purposes. But apart from that, I am originally from Vallejo, California. So think Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. I did my undergraduate at Santa Clara University down in South Bay with applied physics. That was a lot of fun, a lot of palm trees. And now I'm just here doing my master's. And on the side, I like to have fun by building cars, go drifting, drag racing. I'm also bodybuilding. So yeah.
Thank you. And Carolina, do you want to be next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Carolina Lecomte. I'm from Colombia. I'm doing my PhD, second year PhD in transportation here at UC Davis. And before I did my undergrad in civil engineering in Colombia and a master's in transportation and a master's in urban planning. So yeah, but those were outside the US. So I've worked a bit in transportation as well, but decided to come back to grad school for my PhD. So that's where I'm right now.
Thank you. And I think we do have another panelist. Maitri, are you available?
Yes, hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let's thank Erica for putting together such an amazing initiative. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this, Erica. My name is Maitri, and I am a postdoctoral fellow at UC Davis. I got my PhD in comparative pathology at UC Davis itself, and I studied prostate cancer in humans. And I'm specifically interested in how we can detect the tumor early by studying certain pathways that don't work as they're supposed to when a person has a prostate tumor. I am originally from India. I am the first person in my family to obtain a PhD from an American university. I came here all by myself when I was 23 for a master's degree at USC. It was terrifying. There was very little internet. Google didn't exist. Amazon was a tiny, tiny little store on the internet, which most of us didn't know much about. And so from there to here has been quite a journey. And I don't know how relevant my application experience will be for the rest of you, because although you're much younger than I am, but my aspiration is to become a professor and do research and teach at a research-intensive university. So I'm very happy to participate with my fellow panelists and talk to all of you in the audience.
Awesome, thank you. So as you can see, we have a very diverse panel. And I think at this point, I want us to move us into the question part of this panel. And I really want to invite you all guys, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself, or you can just put them in the chat and we'll have someone read them. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started with a couple questions. So maybe some of you guys might be wondering, why someone will go to grad school? Why isn't a bachelor enough? So I'm gonna go ahead and ask Gabriel, why do you choose to attend grad school? And how does grad school fit into your academic and professional plans?
Yeah, great question. Funny enough, my senior year of college, in the beginning, I thought I was going to go into grad school because I was like, I'm enough college, enough physics. I can't do any more physics in my life anymore. But one of my buddies actually convinced me to apply, and I was actually looking into it. And the more and more I looked into what kind of topics we actually covered in grad school in comparison to undergraduate, my passion just like blew up all over again, just from when I started freshman year of college. I was an applied physics major, and I was really interested in seeing how physics worked, see if I can do anything with like technology, Iron Man, holograms, flying cars, quantum computers, all that cool high-tech stuff that doesn't exist but should. And then once I looked at kind of like the resources that some schools had, I really saw that some programs actually had things that I really wanted to do. So like holograms, for example, that's kind of in the area of where I'm into right now. And just finding the way, like finding a route that I could see that, like, hey, I can actually do that. Grad school was that route. So to that extent, grad school was one way to see a lifelong dream and flourish, where undergraduate, I don't think we would have ever gone into that kind of depth. And that's why I chose grad school, because it's one area, one place you can actually create the future. You're on the brink of research and knowledge.
Awesome. That's a great response, Gabriel. And Carolina mentioned that she has a couple master's degrees, so she knows a lot about grad school. Tell us, why did you choose to attend grad school multiple times, and how does grad school fit into your academic and professional plans?
Sure, Erica. So I might say after I graduated civil engineering, I wanted to test myself, I guess. I did know that transportation was one of the areas in civil engineering that I liked the best, but there's many areas. So I tested one, I found a job in construction, and basically I just didn't like it. And then started talking to professors that I knew in civil engineering of transportation that I liked they all advised me, it's better if you start the program, and most of these programs have like in here, you can be a research assistant or a GSR and work while you're also doing your master's. So that was very attractive for me, that I could study and work in something that I wanted to learn about. So I feel the classes that I took of transportation in the bachelor's were very basic, very introductory. And while in grad school, I actually got into the stuff, like you got actually into the modeling, into the different details about the economics of transportation and everything, and kind of opened your world there. And the second master's, well, the urban planning field is very attached to transportation, but it has its own, different areas. And I felt that to actually be a good transportation planner, which is what I felt I liked, I kind of had to blend the two. So I felt it was a complementary study, and I wasn't going to do architecture from zero, start everything from scratch. And a grad school can also be a way to get some detail about the area that you like without maybe doing a whole career from, the very first quarter or semester. So I felt that was a good balance for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for those answers. And I just want to highlight some of the things that they mentioned. Grad school gives you the opportunity to go more into depth in a topic that you are interested in on. So for example, in community college and also as an undergrad, you would have to take math, biology, some of the classes that you're not really interested in, right? But grad school gives you the opportunity to narrow down your focus and you just take those classes that you are really passionate about. So this is just a great opportunity for you to keep learning about something that you're passionate about. Also, like Gabriel mentioned, you are on the verge of discovery. You're doing something that no one has ever done before. So I just want to highlight that for you. And also, Carolina said that you have the opportunity to work. So yes, you might be doing your research and your coursework, but you also have the opportunity to work. And I think something that I want to mention even very briefly here is that a lot of the schools, you can go to grad school for free, meaning that they will provide opportunities for you to get paid. So for example, you can be a TA or you can be a researcher. So even if you are like me from a low income family, you can still go to grad school and not pay for it. So we're gonna jump unless anyone has questions. And I see a group of people. One of the participants, there's a few students around the table. So I just wanna welcome you guys. And thank you so much for tuning in with us. If you have any questions, feel free to just speak up or put them in the chat. The second question that I wanna ask to our participants is, okay, so now you tell us that grad school is great. What do you have to do to get into grad school? So for example, how the admission works more or less, and what experience do you think that help you get into grad school? So as an undergrad, what do you think students have to do to get into grad school? So I know that was a loaded question. So maybe Jordan, what do you have to do to get into grad school?
There's an application process because everyone, or at least a lot of people want to get into grad school, and there's only a certain limited spots, and so you have to pick the best out of them. And so there's several essays. There's a personal statement. There's that where you describe yourself, you describe your motivation of why you want to go to grad school, how it will benefit you, and how your experience will benefit the community you serve, or the scientific community as a greater cause. You list your experiences, how that has prepared you for grad school. Like I have a master's degree from USF. I made a lot of mistakes during my master's, and when I applied to Davis, I was able to say that I did learn from all my mistakes. I didn't repeat them. Yeah, so there's an application process. For law schools and for med schools, they have their own unique exam. The law school has the LSAT, med school has the MCAT, but a lot of schools now getting rid of the GRE. They feel like disproportionately affects or benefits only certain individuals, and so a lot of schools now getting rid of the GRE,
Yeah.
which is like kind of like a more harder version of the SAT or the ACT.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. Thank you for describing the GRE for some of us never heard GRE before, the terminology. So yeah, it's just an exam that tests you and your English and math levels. However, like Jordan stated, a lot of schools have gotten rid of that just so that more students have the opportunity to apply to grad school. And then now I want to ask Sirenio that, yes, what do you had to do to get into grad school? What experiences do you think you helped you to grad school? So for example, did you do any research? Did you, play any leadership any leadership roles in undergrad? What do you do? What do you think it helped you to get into grad school, Sidenio?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think there's an answer of what you need to do to necessarily get into grad school. There's many opportunities, and I think being involved in any sort of activity or opportunity and highlighting the importance of it will really make you a competitive candidate. Some of the things I did during my undergraduate, I was an intern for companies. So during the summers when you don't have classes, companies offer these job opportunities for like a month or two, where they expose you to, to either research or to certain aspects that they want to look more into. And so as an intern, you work for the company, and then at the end, you have the opportunity to really present what you found. So some of the examples, I know maybe most of you aren't studying chickens like I am, but some of the things some of the companies I interned for were COB, which is a genetic company, where we looked at genotypes and kind of see how can we improve the quality of the animal and make them more efficient. Some other things you can also do are research as an undergraduate. So you can go as you're still a student, an undergraduate student, you can apply or reach out to just faculty members and see what type of research they're doing. If you're interested in a certain subject, you can reach out and see how you can pitch in and help with the project. I think that really gives you the opportunity to really get an understanding of what research is. But also it makes you very competitive when you're applying to grad school, right? Because you already come with some type of research experience, so you understand the fundamentals. So I think internships and any type of research experience you can gain while you're in undergrad, I think those are valuable skills and opportunities.
Thank you, Sidenio. And I think that goes to a question that's on the chat that said, as community college student, what can we do to prepare to grad school? And so I would just echo what Sidenio said. There are opportunities that might not be locally at your community college, but are available throughout the country. And I want to give an example. When I was a community college student, I applied for an internship, multiple actually, and I got into one in the state of Maine. So Maine, as if you are not very good at in geography, as I'm not, it's on the other side of the country. And I had no idea where Maine was. And I ended up doing very cool research. And the good thing about this that I want you all to know is that this internship experiences might be paid for. So you might get to travel somewhere super cool in the country, and they will pay you to do research. So if you are in the border, whether or not research might be for you, I think applying for internships, that's a very good opportunity. If you don't know where to get internships, I'm going to try to look for the link and post it on the chat. As well, you can also talk to your MESA. If your community college has a MESA program or a Puente program, or there's so many other programs now available at community colleges, talk to your advisors regarding regarding opportunities. Are there any other questions on the chat, Emily, or people want to just unmute themselves?
Yeah, when you're in grad school, sometimes if you ask your professor or your PI, your boss, that you meet up at least once a week, sometimes you'll get the opportunity to study abroad. Like I haven't studied abroad yet. I hope to do so, but I've met so many Italians who have who traveled, who did their or doing their PhD in Italy, who are now spending a few months here just to learn about their research of interest and how UC Davis also is doing research in their same field that they like as well.
Thank you. Emily, is there another question?
There were no other questions in the chat.
Awesome. Any of the participants want to unmute themselves and ask a question? If not,
I wanted to second what was just said. I had a really good experience talking to the professors of the classes that I liked. So they didn't have per se a direct internship, but they had, for example, connections to industry people that they were looking for people that wanted to help to be an intern. So that was how I got my first internship. I just went to my professor and said, hey, I really like this subject. You know, maybe I have the summer off, maybe I could work somewhere. And they oriented me to a person that was looking for students or like recently to people that were going to recently graduate or recently graduated. So that's another option. And if you like that subject, I always advise to go and talk to the professor, because at least in my field, like I was the first civil engineer in my family. So nobody had like a company or like had worked in the field before, so they didn't have the contacts. So I had to like find my own contacts, and that was the way I found to do so.
Awesome. And then I saw a question that was answered, and just to clarify to everyone, if we use some words that you don't understand, please feel free to ask us on the chat. So someone asked, what is a PI? A PI is a principal investigator. So when you come to grad school, you usually work for a specific professor. So that's where you're going to do most of your research, or mostly your studies. So you're going to belong to a lab that it is run by a principal investigator, and the principal investigator is your boss. Then also there is another question that Jessica posted on the chat, and I want to ask if any of our panelists wants to answer this question. How important is GPA compared to statement of purpose, test scores, or experiences? Which will be the most important? Gabriel, yeah, go ahead.
You can touch base on that. I would say there are requirements when applying for graduate school. Like, so there is like a minimum GPA requirement you need. That was my case. I did not do very hot in undergraduate, so I made the bare minimum just to apply. So I got really lucky on that portion. But for me, what helped aid that lower GPA was my experiences. So I had about 3 summers worth of research experience. When I used to Riverside and 2 at Sandia National Labs in research. So any experience you can get on top of any kind of GPA already is a big benefit. On top of that, recommendation letters from those experiences did definitely help, but they more want to see like what kind of things can you bring to the table if they're going to bring you on. So I think that adds more value. And also the statements really show like your purpose. For me, it was like my passion and kind of like my background, what I've been doing now, being a first gen, low socioeconomic background, and what I want to do with a graduate degree. If they see that passion throughout like the whole essay, that's a bigger factor, I believe, and experiences are a bigger factor than the GPA. But GPA is still important for some aspects.
Yeah, and I want to say just what Gabriel said. GPA requirements are a fact for almost all programs that you want to apply. They are now like 3.8, 3.5. Some of them are like as low as 3 or so. And if you're in the borderline, I would say go ahead and apply, because like Gabriel said, there are other things that are going to be put into your application. And the way that applications are work now, at least in some departments, is they're taking a holistic approach, which means that they don't look at specific numbers. So they don't look at your GPA or how many internships you did, but the whole application as a whole. Also, the way they are doing it now, a lot of schools, because they want to recruit diverse students, is they look at your application and they said, okay, this person didn't have any research experience for 3 years, but this person was in community college. So they might not look at they would look at you as an individual and what did you do with the resources you had? So you might not do any research, but you might have taken leadership skills. You might run a club. You might have done other things that will count towards your leadership experiences. And I just found the link where I found my internships. They have over 2,000 of internships around the US and around the world, and most of them are paid. So I'm gonna put it on the chat so that you guys can access to those internships. Anyone has anything to add or a different question? Let me see if there's anything else on the chat. Would any of you happen to have any references to an internship jobs at criminal justice field in community college? Okay, that might be open to law school or the police field. I don't think any of the panelists are in that specific field, but the website that I'm going to post on the chat has a lot of different internships for different fields from STEM and also social science. So you might be able to find something there. Also, what I will encourage you to do is if you really want to increase your experience, go ahead to your local police department and ask them, hey, I want to volunteer for 5 hours a week or something. That will also count for your grad school application. And
I wanted to add something.
Go ahead,
Erica. Yeah, for like I had experience, let's say, not passing on the first time to many of my attempts of PhD. So I would encourage people that just like keep working, but then keep preparing yourself for grad school. So in my case, it was a thing about the exams. Well, English is not my first language, so I did have some trouble with the GRE, this, and then like blessed COVID came, and a lot of the GRE elements turned down because I did like I had the other components, but my GRE was not good enough. So I wouldn't like disencourage people to not like give. If they really want to go to grad school, you can still keep earning experience on the side and maybe preparing by asking somebody to read their statements or by asking somebody to, do a reference letter for the future and try it again. Like, it's not like you have to go right after college or, it doesn't have like an exact time. So yeah, if it's something that you really want to do, you can do it. Eventually. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And something that I just thought about is that maybe right now at a community college, your opportunities might be a little bit limited, but just coming here today and learning about potential opportunities that grad school has for you, that's already preparing you for whenever you transfer to a 4-year university. And in a 4-year university, there will be more opportunities for you to do research. So for example, you're taking a chemistry class and you love this professor and you think that whatever they're doing is amazing. Go talk to the professors after class and ask them, hey, I'm here to volunteer 2 hours a week, something like that, if you can volunteer. And if you cannot volunteer, try to look for paid positions because there are paid positions out of 4-year institutions. So now I want to move to the following question that I have here prepared that I think we already touched a little bit on how grad school is different from a 4-year university. Let me ask our panelists, Maitri, are you there? And can you talk about how undergrad is different from grad school?
Yes, of course. So there's a saying that I came across, and I was told this by senior PhD students, and I'm sharing it with you. It's not to put anybody off or to think that it's too hard for me to do or not to do, but they say that it's grad school, not grade school. So as we've been hearing from all the panelists, there are lots of opportunities, but I guess one thing that ties what everyone has said together is the emphasis on you going out there and talking to people and looking for opportunities. And it doesn't have to be very many, like Erica just mentioned. And I thought that was a great example, Erica. For example, if you enjoy a certain class you're taking, go up to the professor and talk with them. Don't be afraid. In undergrad, it's much more structured, so you have more opportunities to talk with professors or even other students in your class. Maybe your TA, if the professor seems very intimidating. And that's really going to help you in graduate school, because over there, as our other panelists have pointed out, there are so many opportunities. And unless you are able to put yourself out there and look for things, it's going to be difficult to get a complete experience. And so what I mean by that is undergraduate is, a 4-year program. I did not go to undergraduate school in America, so I'm not very sure how it works here. But in general, every year has a syllabus. There are courses, you take tests, you're evaluated based on, essays, group assignments, so on. It's very structured. In graduate school, and specifically the PhD program, and I will talk from the perspective of a science program, you may or may not have 2 tracks. So what I mean by track is you can do a PhD or a master's, and the amount of research you do can vary. And so if it's a research track, over there, you're going to have a project, you're going to be learning certain techniques, and that's structured in that you have a project. But beyond that, you will have to, read papers, talk with your colleagues, you'll go to conferences, and this is a really exciting part of graduate school. And in that sense, it's sort of unstructured. And so I guess to wrap up, if there's one major difference I had to say was between a 4-year undergraduate program or any 4-year degree program and graduate school, it's the structure. So you have to get into graduate school knowing that you might be a little bit uncomfortable, but that's okay. We all are, and no question is too silly. And you're always better off asking that question. And if you have that question, I guarantee you there'll be 20 other people who do. So you'll be helping not just yourself, but everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wise knowledge that you share with students. I want to ask Daniel, tell us, what do you think, how do you think grad school varies from undergrad? I think we heard a little bit about the structure, in undergrad, you go to class, you get tests, then you pass, and then you move on. You know that you're going to take the next level of that class. In grad school, how does it work? And maybe if you're comfortable sharing, maybe how your day-to-day looks like in grad school.
Yeah, definitely. I think, quite a bit of the structure was well explained. I think the biggest thing is, as a graduate student, most of your time you spent working on a research project that you're interested in, right? And often it involves with your professor, you talk and you discuss what that project will be. And so most of it focuses on that aspect. But I think one of the unique things that some programs offer is what I think will be talked a little bit more about for the next panel or the next session. But you can TA, which is basically a teaching position as a graduate student. So you can teach courses that undergraduate students will take. And depending on the school, that structure will change. And I can speak for during my master's at Fresno State, they gave me a role as a lecturer where there was 35 students. I took an introduction to animal science course. And during that part of the experience, you're able to interact with students just like you that are taking classes. You can teach, you can help students convey the information, which is a whole different field. But giving you that opportunity, at least for me, was really what made the decision for me to go on and pursue a PhD. By the end, I really I want to be a professor because I want to see and help students, especially students that come from diverse backgrounds. At Fresno State in our department, there was no one that looked like me. Most people were white males, and having someone that has gone through the struggles that you're going through, I think it's a valuable asset. So I know, just to go back to that question, I think the biggest thing is you spend more time working on a research project that you're interested in, and you do take some courses, but they're not as focused as as an undergraduate where you take 5 or 6 each semester.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And just because we have time, maybe Gabriel, you can talk. TA already came to the conversation, being a teaching assistant, being a researcher also came to the conversation. But what other things what other things are available for, or opportunities are available for graduate students? For example, you can mention conferences or any other things that you have participated, just so that we can expand the knowledge of what grad school is all about.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I do want to point out is that, especially down the PhD track and some master's degrees, definitely early on, figure out if you want to do research. PhDs are mostly deal with research. Some masters are also research based. So my recommendation, even before you even think about applying, think about if you want to do research. Some cool things about graduate school is, as you mentioned, we can actually go to conferences. So like currently I'm working on a project that it's called that minimal nanoscale forces project. It's a novel, one of a kind force that's never been reported before. And if it all goes well, my professor can send me to a conference and we might get a few papers out of it. So I become an author. So even the opportunity to become like a first or second author of a research paper already carries a lot of weight being in graduate school. And down the line, when you're older, employers actually look at that track record of those publications as kind of a factor when actually giving you money. So they look at like, oh, how well do they know their skills, their experiences, but how well can they publish? How much novelty can they give you? So some experiences are like conferences, which is really cool. Someone mentioned international travels. My professor, we bring in people from Spain all the time now. We have like somebody entering for us every 4 months from Spain, all paid for them. So there's like opportunities for travel. As you mentioned, most PhDs, or I think all, are fully funded, so you don't have to worry about money. You're not rich, but it's passable. You get by. There's also opportunities, like you're saying, you can TA. That also covers, some parts. There's grants you can get. There's scholarships. There's fellowships you can also apply to give you more money. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities in graduate school from the academic side of things.
Awesome, thank you. And we just realized that there is a question, and it on the chat. It says, how competitive is UC Davis grad programs, specifically their medical programs? And I think this gives us an opportunity to talk about grad school, because here in this panel, we're talking more about graduate school, more academic, which means more research-based. Then some of you guys have heard about medical school or professional schools. So professional schools covers business school, medical school, lawyers. So those are different programs that the ones we are part of, the ones what we're talking about here. Here we're talking about more academic programs in which we do a lot of research. We are scientists in our fields. So for example, if you are interested in medicine, you could be a PhD, a doctor in philosophy, and I'm not sure, immunology. So immunology talks about how our body responds to different foreign things that come into our bodies. So the type of programs that we are discussing are not necessarily medical school or nursing school or lawyer or how to become lawyers. Those are more fall into the professional school realm. And then if people are interested, just contact us and we could potentially put a panel that talks about professional school. But in this case, we are talking about different doctoral programs. And following the question was how competitive they are. And I want to say that it just depends on what program you are applying, right? There are some programs that receive 200 or 300 applications and only accept 10 students. I think it just varies, right? Any of the panelists has something to say regarding those questions?
I know, sorry, Gabriel. Yeah, so for grad students, we usually apply to more than one grad school. Like before I came to Davis, I applied to 13 other grad schools because I had a strong research background and had publications and work experience. I was not guaranteed a shot in the microbiology program at UC Davis. So in order to increase my chances of going into at least one grad school, I applied to 13.
I
Yes.
think I would add on that. And yes, like there is, maybe I remember researching on Google, the different programs, of course, in transportation, that's what I'm into. And some of like QS and some there's like rankings of universities, but you get an idea and you can filter by program. So like in civil engineering, you can filter in planning, you can filter in transportation, and start getting a sense of like maybe 10 schools or so, and start thinking like, if you like the program, you can go in the website, start understanding that, and then narrow down from the maybe 10, you can narrow down 5 and then apply to 5 or apply to 10. That depends on you. But yeah, I think you can start looking at that, and you will see how competitive they are. Some of these scores already tell you the percentage of acceptance per school, so that could give you like an idea. So I guess the good thing about being in the US is that there's a lot of options. Like other countries, like Colombia, like doesn't have like 20 options even per state. Here you have even that amount of options per state. So like you could probably find a program that's more like adapted to you. So I guess it's like inviting you to take advantage, because there's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, awesome. Gabriel, you want to add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, just in terms of grad school and also research, if you do have an idea of what you want to study, rankings I think matter a little bit less when you know exactly kind of like the area of what you want to study. There might be a professor or area of research that like might be in some like middle ranking school, and it might not be available in some high ranking schools. And that is totally okay, because I feel like if you get a professor who's like, doing exactly what you want to do, your chances of impact and success are a lot greater than you go into like a high ranking school and doing mediocre work. So that's another factor you have to look at.
Yes, and I something that Emily just put on the chat is that I need to emphasize the fact that there are waivers for applying to grad school. So med school applications are extremely expensive. You might spend thousands of dollars on applications. However, for applications for graduate school, there are opportunities for waivers. So for example, once you transfer to a four-year institutions, there are programs like the Magnier program here at UC Davis that takes students that come from underrepresented backgrounds, and you are part of this cohort, and they help you with the GRE, with the applications, how to develop a strong application. And also just by being part of that program, you might be able to apply for free to any school that has Magnier programs. So there are ways for you to get it to that stage of applying without having to put any money down. And talking about money, we have Emily has something to say. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure that we got to this question on this topic. So a student asked, how can you prepare financially for your master's to not have many student loans?
So I can speak on that, and I'll do it very briefly, and then any panelists can jump in. I did my master's, and I did my master's at Virginia Tech, and I did not apply to any master's that was no funding, because I knew that I was from a low income family. I didn't want to have loans, and I had worked very hard as an undergrad to get into schools that could pay me. So even if it wasn't fully funded, there are opportunities for you to do again TA or do other side jobs within the school. So they will be very accommodating according to the schedule, and you can go to school for free technically. So you don't necessarily need to prepare financially. You just gotta ask for resources. And we are here in Mano, so if you have any questions, and I'm sure that all the programs at your community college or the school that you decide to transfer to, who will be willing to share some of those resources with you. You do not need to be rich to go to grad school. You don't need to have savings to go to grad school. You do not need to be middle class to apply for grad school. Just putting it out there. Anyone has anything to say right now? There are a few questions that I think we can, okay, go ahead. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Gabriel.
just to add on that funding for grad school, I think it's an important thing to note if you do find your advisor quickly, make an imperative, especially in masters, that you do need funding. And ideally, they should find ways to fund you one way or another. That's one thing I pointed across to my professor, like even before I started. And right off the bat, here he had my like TA for the most part lined up. Some quarters were TA, some quarters were GSR. But in all schemes of things, like ideally they should want to help you out, and they will find ways to help you financially.
Yeah. And GSR stands for Graduate Research Assistant. So mainly you do research. And I want to just read some of the questions. How difficult is it to get grants to fund your research? A lot of the times already when you get admitted, a lot of the times professors already have grants for you to do a specific project. So you, a lot of the times, don't need to struggle to find your own funding. However, they will probably encourage you to get extra funding to do fun projects. Let me just jump into, I just want us to answer all the questions before we go. Are you able to provide any information on the process for accessing disability and language accommodation in graduate school? Yes, just like an undergrad, all institutions are required to provide all of the resources that you need if you have a disability. So there is a disability center for graduate students here at UC Davis and a disability center for undergrad students. So yes, there are ways for you to find accommodations. Does the name, ranking, prestige of your undergrad university matter in the application? I think the panelists mentioned that there are many things that go into your application, and I don't think that they will look at your application and say, oh, this person graduated from Cornell, automatically is going to be on the accepting pile. I do not think that works that way. I think it goes beyond of like, what are your experiences and your personal story? I think I want to emphasize that everyone has a personal story that makes you valuable, and that you will bring so many things to the table. So I would encourage you to find out and figure out what your story is, from where you were born, how you've struggled, like the classes you've taken, and value that so that when you apply to grad school or even undergrad, you have your story and you tell them what you bring to the table. And every single one of you guys is individual, as individual have amazing characteristics that people are looking for in graduate programs. Another question was, do you know the average cost for masters and doctorates, and if scholarships are easily accessible? And so we previously spoke about this. I don't think any of us know the average cost, because I'm guessing most of the panelists, including myself, are funded, meaning we don't pay out of pocket, because we have those opportunities like TA-ship and research experience, that our work pays for the tuition and pays for our monthly paycheck, because we do receive a monthly paycheck, most of us, to pay for our personal expenses. Maria, you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. Like, one thing that I was looking for, because as I moved here to the US, there is a difference between, being a resident of the state. So if you, maybe the tuition does change for the residents of the state, especially in the state paid universities for like all the UCs. have different fares for people that are California residents that for people that are not from California. So I would encourage you, if you want to look maybe into that as well. There's especially like lower prices for that category. So that's something important. And also I noticed that once you actually start the program, a lot of the program administrators, which are like a staff of the program, they receive constant grant application, like notices of grant applications and notices of possible internships or notices of all these possible income opportunities that people can have. So like also keep an eye on that because there are more grants available that we sometimes are able to find on our own. And they have a lot of like good like resources on possible grants, even if it's like 3,000 can help you for like, you know, a little bit or go to a conference or like there's different opportunities. So I would also encourage you to talk to the program administrator. And that is usually the person that receives all this information firsthand, and they can also give you opportunities there.
Yeah, and there's one question that I think that probably will be the last question that we get to, because then we have the raffle for the $15 gift card for the people who attended. And I don't want you all to go before you have the opportunity to get the raffle. And I want to say regarding to the raffle, the participant who was there with many students, please just contact me, because I will send a little something for you and your students so that you can raffle. You can do your own individual raffle. So just contact me after this so I can send you a little something. And then the other question, what was the other question that I wanted to ask? Yes, it was about a person who, one of our participants has a letter of recommendation from an employer that they work for 4 years, and they ask, can I use that letter of recommendation? Yes, you can use any letter of recommendation that is strong, that is going to talk about you as a person and the problem-solving skills. So it can come from your church, it can come from our employer, it can come from a professor. And then last question, to become a professor, do you need to a doctorate or a master's, or are either okay? So it depends on the institution that you want to become a professor. If you want to teach a community college in California, I believe the minimum qualifications are a master's degree. So you can teach at a community college with a master's degree. If you want to teach a university like Davis, the minimum qualification will be a PhD as a professor. So you will have to figure out where do you want to teach and what makes the most sense for you. And now with that, I want us to pass the microphone to Emily so she can do the raffle for the gift card.
Thank you. Yeah, so I went ahead and put all of the attendees' names into a random generator. And it looks like our winner was Ariel. So congratulations. Thank you for joining with us. And I believe we should have your contact information. So we will contact you regarding your prize. Yes, Ariel. Or you can also just put your send me your contact information just to make sure. I also can leave my personal contact for all the attendees if you have anything. But like I said, the best way to contact the Mano program or me will be using the Mano program email that it was on the bulletin, the flyer that was shared with you, and the email, I put it on the chat. And I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to really thank our panel who gave amazing, share amazing knowledge with you all. And I hope you all tune in for the next panel. You can still register and you will still have a chance to win a gift card. And again, please, the participant who has a bunch of students in a classroom, please contact me so I can send you some swags that you can share with your students.
Thank you,
Go
Erica.
ahead.
This is Roshan Walter from Mission College, just using the student email.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Thank you.
the panelists have anything to say? All right,
Thank you.
so yeah, thank you all. And the recording will be posted in the website, and I will send that email to all of you once the website is up and running. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you guys enjoy our conversations, and we look forward to hearing from you with suggestions or topics that you want us to talk about. And we hope to see you applying for grad school in the future. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Bye.
Hello, Emily.